friends, I'm Kaylyn and welcome to the BUgirl channel. Today we're talking about a classic pair of sisters whose names are Mary and Martha. These sisters, along with their brother Lazarus, were actual real life, friends with Jesus. That's pretty amazing to be able to say. These siblings pop up a couple times in the New Testament, but there's one story in particular that I want to talk about today. So let's talk about Mary and Martha and 3 things that we can learn from their story. This story can be found in Luke 10 verses 38 to 42. It's pretty short, so I'm just going to go ahead and read the whole story for us. As Jesus and the disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem, they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed them into her home. Her sister Mary sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what he taught. But Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing. She came to Jesus and said, "Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister just sits here while I do all the work? Tell her to come help me." But the Lord said to her, "My dear Martha, you're worried and upset over all these details. But there's only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken from her." So immediately after reading this story, my automatic reaction is to identify with Martha. I know that I get caught up and distracted in all the little details, and I know that I have the capacity to become frustrated or irritated with someone when they're not doing the thing that I think they should be doing. This is what happens with Martha. Jesus and his disciples come into Mary and Martha's home, and she immediately begins preparing dinner for everyone. I imagine her doing all of this work and just getting increasingly more and more frustrated that she's doing all of this work alone. And in her head, Mary is just sitting on the floor doing nothing. Finally, she just had enough, and she went to talk to Jesus. She said, "Lord, doesn't this seem unfair that I'm doing all of the work and Mary is doing nothing? Tell her to come and help me." She probably expected Jesus to say, "You know what? You're right. What is Mary doing? She's being lazy and she should come and help you right now." But he doesn't say that. He says, "My dear Martha, you're worried and upset over all these details. There's only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her." Jesus is saying that Martha is getting so caught up in worrying about all these little things that she's not seeing what's actually important and right in front of her. Mary wasn't just sitting on the floor doing nothing. She was sitting at Jesus' feet and listening to what he taught. She was drinking it all in and learning as much as she could. Now, let's talk about 3 things that we can learn from this story. Number 1, God doesn't love us because we're perfect. Martha rushed around and put all of her time and effort and energy into preparing this dinner. She wanted to please Jesus, and she wanted to give him and his disciples a perfect dinner. Now, let me just say, there is nothing wrong with wanting to do our best and working hard to honor those around us. But the problem comes when we focus too much on those little things and not enough on the people around us. When we become too task-focused instead of people-focused. God doesn't expect us to be these perfect people who come to him with everything put together. He wants us as the broken and messy and unperfect people that we are. Number 2, be still. Sometimes life can get real crazy. Sometimes we have so much going on around us that it's hard to even imagine being still. What Jesus wants us to do is to still ourselves and connect with him in the midst of all the chaos. To realize that learning about God and his word is such an important part of our lives. This can be as simple as sitting down for 5 minutes, clearing our minds and praying, or dedicating time during the day to shut off your phone or your computer or your TV and just open the Bible. Number 3, be present. This one actually connects with our first point a bit. When Martha was caught up in all the things that she had to do, she was missing out on spending time with Jesus and learning from him. Mary understood that it was more important to sit at Jesus' feet and learn from him while she could. The same goes for us. If we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off, we're not present. We get too busy for our friends and too preoccupied for our family. But when we are present and we actually show up in our relationships, we're showing that we love and care about that other person. We're showing that they matter to us. So while it can be very easy to be like Martha and get too caught up in the things that we have to do, we need to remember to take a moment to focus on others and to focus on God. That's it for this week, friends. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you identify more with Mary or Martha, and let me know your favorite part of their story.